Mia had always been the quiet one in her community, a girl from the wrong side of the tracks. She had learned early on that to survive, she had to keep her head down and her mouth shut. But when she stumbled upon a series of financial documents at her low-paying job at the local library, something inside her stirred. There, in the neatly organized pages, was proof that the wealthy Parker family had been laundering money through several shell companies. Mia could hardly believe what she was seeing. Poor girl from the wrong side of town, having access to such high-stakes corruption, it felt like a bad dream. But the reality of it weighed heavily on her shoulders. Her breath quickened as she flipped through the papers, the names of powerful politicians and business tycoons jumping off the pages at her. Mia knew that what she was holding could change everything. But with this knowledge came a dark reality. Exposing the truth could cost her everything. As the library clock ticked louder in the silence, Mia's thoughts raced. Should she expose the truth? Could she risk it? Her hand hovered over the papers. One action, one choice could either ruin her life or set her free. She tucked the papers back into the folder and locked it in her drawer. For now, it would remain her secret. But how long would she be able to keep it hidden? Days passed, and Mia tried to forget about the documents. She focused on her work, her daily routine, but she couldn't shake the feeling that she was hiding something important. Her nights were restless, filled with thoughts of the Parker family's dark secrets. She couldn't unsee what she had discovered, and every part of her screamed that the truth needed to be exposed. But at what cost? Would anyone believe her? Or would she be silenced before she even had a chance to speak? The burden weighed heavily on her. She began researching, diving deeper into the Parker family's financial dealings, hoping to find something that would give her the courage to act. But with each revelation, Mia felt herself getting pulled deeper into a world of lies and corruption, one that she was not equipped to face alone. She knew that exposing the truth was dangerous, but the thought of doing nothing felt even worse. The line between right and wrong blurred in her mind. Should she stand by and let the injustice continue, or should she risk it all for the truth? Mia's internal conflict grew. Her friend, Natalie, noticed the change. "You've been distracted lately," Natalie said one evening as they sat in a local diner. "Is something going on?" Mia hesitated, unsure if she should share what she had found. But the burden of the secret was too much to bear alone. "I found something big," Mia confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. "I can't ignore it, but I don't know what to do with it." Natalie leaned in, her eyes wide with curiosity. "What are you talking about? You have to tell someone." But Mia shook her head. "I don't know if I can trust anyone. What if they think I'm just making it up?" Natalie placed a hand on hers, offering support. "You can't carry this alone. You've got to do something. The truth will come out one way or another." But Mia wasn't so sure. The closer she came to making a decision, the more she realized how deeply her life was tied to the lies she'd uncovered. Mia sat in front of her computer late one night, scrolling through more documents, her eyes straining. The deeper she dug, the clearer it became. The Parker family wasn't just laundering money. They were involved in a web of illegal activities that reached into local government and law enforcement. The truth was more explosive than she had ever imagined. And yet, as the evidence mounted, so did the fear. The more she uncovered, the more she realized that exposing them wouldn't just change her life, it could destroy her life. A part of her wanted to back away, to pretend like she had never seen any of this. But the other part, the part that wanted justice, the part that wanted to stop the corruption, was louder. Mia knew she had to make a choice, and fast. Should she expose everything, knowing the dangers? Or should she walk away and let the lies continue? Mia took a deep breath and gathered her courage. The decision was made. She would expose the truth, no matter the cost. Papers were in her hands, the evidence irrefutable. She knew it would be dangerous, but she couldn't live with herself if she did nothing. The truth needed to be known. She wasn't sure how or when, but she knew one thing. She was no longer afraid. Mia was ready to fight for justice, even if it meant sacrificing everything she had. Mia couldn't escape the truth she had uncovered. The documents sat on her desk, a constant reminder of the corruption she was about to expose. She had thought about going to the police, but the Parker family's influence ran deep. They owned the local law enforcement, the media, even some politicians. As she paced her small apartment, Mia realized that she might be walking straight into a trap. There was no safe place to go. One afternoon, while Mia was at the library, she saw something that made her stomach drop. Michael Parker, one of the family's heirs, walking through the entrance. He was charming, a smooth talker who always wore a well-pressed suit. But Mia knew the truth about him now. His smile, his confident air, it was all a facade. He was the face of the lies, the perfect mask hiding the evil behind the scenes. As he passed by her desk, he gave her a friendly nod. But Mia didn't return it. She just kept her head down, praying he didn't suspect her. Mia was beginning to feel the pressure mounting. She couldn't ignore the growing sense of danger, the constant feeling that someone was watching her. Her phone had started buzzing with strange numbers, but she never answered. Every knock on her door, every glance from a stranger in the street made her nervous. The web of lies was tightening around her, and she didn't know how long she could keep her secret. That evening, as Mia returned home, she found an envelope slid under her door. The note inside was simple: stop digging or suffer the consequences. No signature, no return address. But the message was clear. Someone was warning her, threatening her. And yet, Mia was still determined. If she backed down now, the lies would never be exposed, and countless people would continue to suffer in silence. Mia knew she needed help. She couldn't take on the entire Parker family alone. She had kept her secret from her friends for too long, but now she had no choice but to confide in Natalie. "Listen, I need you to help me," Mia said, her voice shaking as she met her friend at a local cafe. "I found something huge. The Parkers, what they're doing, it's criminal. But I can't do it alone. I need someone who can back me up." Natalie stared at her in disbelief, her mouth slightly open. "Are you serious? The Parkers are untouchable. Mia, this is dangerous. You can't just—" "I know," Mia interrupted. "But I have to. The truth is bigger than all of us. I can't just ignore it." Natalie looked torn. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know yet, but I can't stop now. I'm going to expose them, no matter the cost." The next few days were filled with frantic preparations. Mia started gathering everything she had: documents, evidence, anything that could prove the Parkers' wrongdoing. She knew the risks, but she was past the point of fear. There were moments of doubt, of course. She couldn't help but wonder if she was making a huge mistake. But deep down, Mia knew she couldn't walk away now. She wasn't just fighting for herself, she was fighting for everyone who had been hurt by the Parkers' lies. One night, while going through the files at her apartment, Mia heard a knock at the door. It was late, far too late for a casual visitor. Her heart raced as she opened the door. It was Sarah, a former coworker who had left the library months ago. "I heard you were looking into the Parkers," Sarah whispered, glancing around nervously. "I know what you're doing, Mia. And I need to help." Mia and Sarah spent the next few days working together, pooling their knowledge and resources. Sarah, it turned out, had connections that Mia never knew about, including a hacker who could help access hidden files from the Parkers' network. The plan was risky, but they had no other choice. The stakes were higher than ever. On the night they decided to make their move, Mia felt a knot tighten in her stomach. The room was dark, except for the glow of the computer screen. She sat with Sarah and the hacker, her mind racing as they cracked the security codes, one by one. Suddenly the screen flickered, and Mia froze. The files were there, hidden deep within the Parkers' encrypted network. It was more than she could have hoped for. But just as they began downloading the files, the door slammed open. "Not so fast," a voice growled. Mia's heart raced as the door slammed open. Standing in the doorway was a tall, intimidating man, dressed in dark clothes. His eyes narrowed when he saw the three of them gathered around the computer. It was clear that they had been caught. "You should have stopped," the man said coldly, stepping forward. "You've made a big mistake." Mia stood frozen, her mind whirling with panic. Was this the end? She had come so far, and now everything was about to be torn down in an instant. But before she could react, Sarah sprang into action, grabbing the flash drive with the downloaded files. "Get out of here, Mia," Sarah shouted. "Take the files, and go." Mia didn't hesitate. She grabbed the flash drive, tucked it into her pocket, and bolted for the door. The man lunged, but Sarah pushed him back, creating just enough time for Mia to escape. As she ran through the narrow alleyways, her heart pounded in her chest. She couldn't afford to look back. The truth was in her hands now. There was no turning back. Mia made it home, out of breath and wide-eyed with panic. She locked the door behind her, but her mind kept racing. Sarah had risked everything for her, and now Mia had to make sure it wasn't in vain. She plugged the flash drive into her laptop, her hands shaking as she waited for the files to load. The screen flickered for a moment before the documents appeared, and Mia felt a surge of adrenaline. What she saw confirmed everything she had feared. The Parkers were involved in illegal activities, but it was worse than she had imagined. There were connections to organized crime, money laundering, and even human trafficking. She couldn't believe what she was reading. Mia's breath caught in her throat. The truth was even darker than she could have ever imagined. And now, it was up to her to expose it to the world. But how? The files were too sensitive. If she went public, the Parkers would stop at nothing to destroy her. The next day, Mia decided to meet with Natalie. She needed advice, someone she could trust. She couldn't keep carrying this burden alone. She went to their usual diner, where Natalie was already waiting. "I've got the files," Mia said, sliding the flash drive across the table. "It's all true, but it's worse than we thought. They've got their hands in everything, from politics to crime." Natalie's face went pale as she took the flash drive. "Mia, this is dangerous. You've seen what they'll do to protect themselves. If we expose them, we're putting everything on the line." "I know," Mia replied, her voice low. "But I can't back down now. Too many people are depending on me to bring the truth to light. I just need to figure out how to make sure the world believes it." They both fell silent for a moment, the weight of the situation sinking in. Exposing the Parkers would change everything. But Mia knew she couldn't live in fear anymore. She had to act. That night, Mia received an anonymous message on her phone. "You have no idea what you're messing with. Walk away while you still can." The message was accompanied by a photo of her apartment, taken from across the street. She wasn't safe anymore. The Parkers knew she was close to exposing them. Her heart raced, but she didn't hesitate. The time for hiding was over. She called Natalie and told her everything. "We need to go public with this," Mia said. "We need to make sure the truth is out there, no matter what. Are you sure you're ready for this?" Natalie asked, her voice laced with concern. "I have to be," Mia replied, her voice firm. "There's too much at stake now." They decided to send the files to a trusted investigative journalist, someone who could help them get the story out without risking their lives. It was a risky move, but Mia knew it was the only way. The next few days were a blur of frantic planning. Mia and Natalie worked together, keeping a low profile as they made sure everything was in place. The journalist was ready to go public with the story, but there was one last hurdle: getting the files into the right hands without the Parkers stopping them. The day the article was set to be published, Mia received a call from the journalist. "It's happening," the journalist said. "The story will be live by midnight. We're going to expose them. Everything will change." Mia felt a weight lift off her shoulders, but the fear still gnawed at her. Parkers wouldn't go down without a fight. As she walked through the crowded streets, she couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching her. The Parkers wouldn't stop until they had silenced her. But Mia had made her decision. The truth had to be told, no matter the consequences. The night the story went live, Mia couldn't sleep. Her phone buzzed incessantly with notifications from friends, colleagues, and even strangers who had read the explosive article. The media was in a frenzy, and so were the authorities. But as the hours ticked by, Mia noticed something troubling. The Parkers were not only staying quiet, they were fighting back in ways Mia didn't understand. A few hours after the article broke, Mia got a text from Natalie. "They've started damage control. The news is already calling it fake news. The Parkers have got their people everywhere, Mia. We have to act fast." Mia's stomach twisted. She had known this would happen, but it didn't make it any easier to face. The world was watching, but the Parkers were powerful. What could she do against their influence? Mia took a deep breath, her hand gripping the phone tighter. "We've come too far to stop now," she texted back. The fight had just begun. The next morning, Mia received an unexpected call. It was from the journalist who had published the story. "Mia, I need to speak to you. It's urgent." The line crackled, and Mia's heart sank. "What's happened?" she asked. "There's been a shift," the journalist explained. "The Parkers are powerful, and they've pulled some strings. The authorities are trying to discredit the story, and there are even rumors that they're trying to silence some of the witnesses. You're not safe, Mia. You need to be careful. You need to be careful." Mia felt a chill run down her spine. She wasn't naive. She had expected retaliation. But this was different. The Parkers were going all in to bury the truth. "What do I do now?" Mia asked, her voice shaking with the weight of the situation. "We need to make sure the story can't be suppressed," the journalist said. "You have to get your evidence to the public, fast." Mia decided to meet with Sarah, knowing that her friend's connections might be the key to getting the truth out. They arranged to meet in a safe location, a quiet cafe where no one would expect them. "Mia, this is getting dangerous," Sarah said, looking around nervously as she sat down across from her. "If they're coming after witnesses, you're next. You need to leave town, at least for a while." Mia shook her head. "I can't run. The truth is out there now. I've already exposed the Parkers. I can't back down." Sarah was quiet for a moment, then sighed. "You're right. But if you want to fight back, you need more help. You can't do this alone." "I know," Mia said softly. "I'm going to reach out to more people. If I can't expose the Parkers alone, maybe together we can take them down." As the days passed, Mia continued her fight. She worked tirelessly to gather more evidence, reaching out to former employees of the Parkers, witnesses, and anyone who might have information that could help. But as the pressure mounted, Mia felt the walls closing in on her. The Parkers were relentless, using every resource at their disposal to discredit her. Threatening messages continued to flood her inbox. And still, the media spun their narrative, painting her as nothing more than a troublemaker. But Mia wasn't backing down. She was more determined than ever to expose the lies. She had lost everything, her job, her security, but what she had gained was far greater: the truth. The more she fought, the stronger she became. And Mia knew that there was no turning back now. This fight wasn't just about her. It was about everyone who had been silenced for far too long. "I won't stop," she said aloud to herself one night, the words a promise. "I'll expose them." Mia received a call late one night. It was from the journalist again. "Mia, it's happening," the journalist said. "The story's going national. You've made a difference. But you need to stay safe. They're coming after you." Mia's stomach twisted as she listened to the news. The fight was intensifying, and she was at the center of it all. She knew that soon the Parkers would make their move. But this time, she wasn't alone. The truth had spread beyond her, and there were others now fighting with her. Mia took a deep breath. "Thank you," she said quietly. "This is just the beginning." She hung up the phone, a feeling of quiet resolve settling in. She had no idea what the future held, but she knew that she had done the right thing. The truth could never be silenced again. The truth was out. The media storm that followed Mia's story was unlike anything she had imagined. News outlets, social media, and activists were now all focused on the Parkers and their criminal empire. Mia felt both a sense of victory and dread. As much as the world knew the truth now, she still couldn't shake the feeling that the Parkers would stop at nothing to silence her. Mia spent sleepless nights watching the headlines roll in. The story was trending, and the pressure was mounting. While many celebrated the bravery of the whistleblower, the Parkers' legal teams were working overtime to discredit the claims. But as the days went on, new voices joined the fight: former employees, whistleblowers, and even politicians who had been quietly complicit. It was clear that the Parkers' web of lies was bigger than anyone had anticipated. "I did it," Mia whispered to herself, staring at her phone screen, the weight of what she had started settling in. But what now? Despite the public outcry, the Parkers were not going down without a fight. Mia's phone rang constantly with threats, untraceable numbers, angry voices telling her to stop or face consequences. But Mia refused to back down. She had become a symbol of defiance, a beacon of hope for those who had been silenced by power. She had already lost everything, but now she was fighting for the people who didn't have a voice. One evening, Mia met with Sarah at their usual cafe. "Mia, the media is all over this, but the Parkers are going to retaliate. You need to be ready," Sarah warned, her voice low with concern. "They'll come for you next." Mia looked around, suddenly feeling the weight of Sarah's words. She had always been a survivor, but now she was fighting a war against an empire. "I know," Mia replied quietly, "but I can't stop. I won't stop. The truth is too big to bury." The Parkers' retaliation became increasingly personal. Mia's apartment was broken into, her belongings ransacked, but she wasn't there. It was clear they were trying to intimidate her, but Mia refused to show fear. She was smarter than that. Her resolve only grew stronger. She had already made the decision to go public with even more damning evidence, the last piece of the puzzle that could bring down the Parker family for good. The question wasn't if she could do it, but when. Mia was ready to face whatever came next. In the dead of night, Mia received a call from the journalist who had been helping her. "It's time," he said, his voice urgent. "We've got the final pieces. We're releasing everything tonight." Mia's heart raced, but she knew there was no turning back now. It was her time to expose everything: the corruption, the manipulation, and the lies. As the final article went live, Mia felt both a rush of adrenaline and an overwhelming sense of dread. The response was instantaneous. News outlets picked up the story, and social media exploded with hashtags calling for justice. But as the hours passed, Mia realized that the world was not the only one watching. So were the Parkers. That evening, Mia received another anonymous message. "You're making a mistake. We're coming for you." The threat was unmistakable, but Mia had come too far to back down. She had exposed the truth, and now there was no turning back. Mia made the decision to go into hiding. She couldn't risk being caught by the Parkers' people. She left her apartment and went to a safe house arranged by the journalist and Sarah, who had also been helping her behind the scenes. As Mia sat in the safe house, watching the news unfold on the TV, she realized the battle was far from over. The Parkers were still fighting back with everything they had, and though the media had exposed the truth, there were still many who didn't believe it. Mia had made enemies, but she had also made allies. She was no longer just a victim. She was a fighter, and she was determined to make sure the Parkers faced the consequences of their actions. The phone rang again. This time, it was from Natalie. "Mia, they're coming for you," she said, urgency in her voice. "You have to get out of the city." Mia's hand tightened around the phone. "I will, but I'm not running from this. I've already lost everything. My job, my life, but I haven't lost my fight." She hung up and stared out the window, watching the rain fall. The battle for justice wasn't over yet, and Mia was ready to face whatever came next. The truth had set her free, but now it was time to make sure it set everyone else free too. Mia had been in hiding for weeks, moving from safe house to safe house. The Parkers had done everything to try to silence her, using every resource at their disposal. But Mia had become a symbol of resistance, of truth in a world that seemed to value lies more. The authorities were now investigating the Parkers' empire, but it was slow progress. The corruption ran deep, and Mia knew that even with all the evidence, justice was not guaranteed. One evening, Mia received an unexpected visitor, Lena, the mentor she hadn't seen in months. "You've done something incredible," Lena said, sitting across from Mia in a small, dimly lit room. The world knows the truth now, Mia. But it's not over yet. The fight is just beginning. Mia nodded, her face weary but resolute. I know. I've exposed them, but the Parkers aren't done yet. They've got power, and they won't stop until they've crushed everyone who stands in their way. Days after Lena's visit, Mia received a call from the journalist who had helped her expose the Parkers. We've got a lead, the journalist said, urgency in their voice. One of the Parkers' associates is ready to testify against them, but they need protection. If we can get them to the authorities, we can bring down the entire operation. Mia felt a flicker of hope. This was the break they needed. But there was a catch. The associate was hiding in a remote location, and Mia knew the Parkers would stop at nothing to make sure the testimony never reached the courts. I'll go, Mia said, her voice firm. We can't let this opportunity slip away. It's our chance to end this. Mia drove for hours, knowing that the Parkers' people were likely tracking her every move. She kept the phone calls short and focused, ensuring she wasn't leaving a trail. Her mind raced with every possibility. What if she was too late? What if they had already gotten to the associate? As she arrived at the hideout, Mia's heart pounded in her chest. She had to act fast. The associate, a former employee of the Parkers, was waiting for her in a rundown house, their face nervous but relieved to see Mia. You're here, the associate whispered. I thought they'd come for me first. We're getting you out of here, Mia said, her voice steady. Stay close, and we'll make sure you get to the authorities safely. As Mia led the associate toward her car, she heard a car engine in the distance. She didn't have time to waste. They were being hunted. Just as Mia started the car, a black SUV pulled up behind them. Her heart dropped. The Parkers' people had found them. Mia floored the accelerator, speeding down the narrow road. The SUV followed closely, its headlights cutting through the darkness, making it clear that there would be no easy escape. Mia, they're gaining on us, the associate shouted, panic rising in their voice. Mia gripped the wheel tighter. She couldn't outrun them, but she had one shot. As they rounded a sharp curve, Mia slammed the brakes, sending the car spinning into a nearby field. The SUV skidded past them, unable to make the turn in time. Mia's breathing was rapid, her chest heaving. We've got to get to the authorities. We're not safe here. The next day, Mia and the associate were safely hidden in a police safe house. The authorities had already taken the associate's testimony, and the investigation into the Parkers was underway. Mia was still in hiding, but for the first time in weeks, she felt a small sense of relief. The Parkers were going to face justice. The truth was no longer just a secret, it was a weapon. But even as the authorities began to move in on the Parkers, Mia knew the battle wasn't over. The Parkers had too much power, too many connections. They wouldn't go down easily. But Mia was ready. She had exposed their lies, and now she was watching them unravel, one lie at a time. Are you ready to see this through? Sarah asked, calling Mia at the safe house. I'm ready, Mia said firmly. This fight isn't just about me. It's for everyone they've hurt. I'm not backing down. The days that followed were a blur. The Parkers, once untouchable, were now under investigation by the authorities. Media outlets reported daily on their arrests, their corruption, and the devastation they had caused. But Mia knew better than to let her guard down. The Parkers were powerful, and the truth had only scratched the surface. Mia watched from a safe house, unable to go outside, knowing the Parkers had their eyes everywhere. Despite the growing evidence against them, Mia couldn't shake the feeling that they would stop at nothing to protect their empire. She'd become a target. The last few months had taken everything from her, her safety, her normal life, but she couldn't regret it. The truth had to be exposed, even if it meant she had to live in the shadows. Mia, you've done more than anyone could have imagined, Lena said during a late-night call. You've changed everything. The Parkers are crumbling. Mia exhaled slowly. But it's not enough. Not yet. They still have so many connections, so many ways to hide the truth. The next morning, Mia received a call from the journalist who had been instrumental in the story's release. Mia, they're making their final moves. The Parkers' legal team is working overtime to bury the evidence. We need to push harder. Release the final documents. It's the only way to guarantee that the truth sticks. Nia hesitated, knowing what this meant. The documents were the last pieces of evidence that would tie the Parkers to everything. If she released them, there was no going back. But she had made a promise to herself, to the victims of the Parkers' crimes, and to the world. "I'm in," Nia said, her voice unwavering. "We'll release everything. It's time to finish this." As the final documents were prepared for release, Nia watched from the safe house, knowing the storm that would come with it. Her phone buzzed again. This time, it was an anonymous message. "You think you've won? You've just opened the door to your own destruction." Nia stared at the screen, her pulse quickening. She had expected retaliation, but now it felt more real than ever. She had already lost her job, her safety, her normal life. But this was it, the final piece of the puzzle. She had no choice but to move forward. With the journalist's help, Nia uploaded the final set of documents to a secure website. The world would see the full extent of the Parkers' corruption, their manipulation, and their exploitation of power. It was time for the last chapter to unfold. The final documents went live, and within minutes, the media exploded. The Parkers' web of lies unraveled completely. This time, there was no stopping the truth. Nia watched as the authorities moved in, arresting the key members of the Parker family, confiscating their assets, and shutting down their operations. But as the chaos unfolded, Nia couldn't help but feel an overwhelming sense of emptiness. She had exposed the truth, but at what cost? Her life would never be the same. She could never go back to who she was before. But in this moment, she knew that the world would never be the same either. "Did you see this?" Natalie said, showing Mia the news coverage. "You did it. You've changed everything." Mia looked at the screen, the images of the Parkers being led away in handcuffs, their empire crumbling before them. For a moment, a wave of relief washed over her. But as she looked around at her empty, quiet surroundings, she knew that this was just the beginning of her new reality. Months later, the truth had changed the world. The Parkers were behind bars, their influence shattered, and the people they had wronged had begun to heal. Nia, now living in a new city, had found a new sense of purpose. She had turned her pain and struggle into something meaningful, working with organizations that helped expose corruption and fight for justice. Nia knew she could never go back to the life she had before, but she had found something new, something that made the sacrifice worth it. She had made a difference, and that was enough. "I couldn't have done this without you," Mia said to Sarah over the phone. "We did it." Sarah's voice was full of pride. "No, Mia, you did it. You changed everything." As Mia looked out over the city from her new apartment, she knew that her fight had sparked something bigger. The truth had been exposed, but the battle for justice was ongoing. She would continue to fight, not because she had to, but because she knew the world needed people who were willing to speak the truth, no matter the cost.